lesson 2, interpret the Constitution.
Okay.
One thing I wanted to mention before we get started, I was thinking about the social contract yesterday. The other part of the social contract is also that we give up some of our liberties in order to, have the rest of them protected by the government and live in an orderly society. So that's sort of our part of the deal within that social contract. I can't, drink a 12 pack and then go 120 miles per hour on 270. Things like that. It certainly looks like that sometimes, but particularly, those liberties that would start to infringe on others' rights or they threaten the government, right? So we have our liberties sort of curtailed there in order to, have the rest protected by the government. And then their job is to not step on the rest of our rights. And if they did, that's when we start having an issue. So today, interpret the Constitution. It's important that we look at this, not just for the social studies aspect and your guys' test, but it's important to know your rights and understand a little bit of how the government works. And that's part of being a citizen. So today we're going to be, you're going to learn how to describe the different parts of the U.S. Constitution, and you'll interpret the Constitution in order to understand how its principles apply to the everyday workings of our national government. All right, so let's take a look here. We'll have
The Constitution of the United States includes a preamble and 7 articles, along with 27 amendments that have been added since the Constitution was first written. The Constitution describes the basic structure of the federal government and the principles under which it operates. Because the Constitution describes these principles in a general manner, it becomes important to interpret the Constitution in order to understand how its principles apply to the everyday workings of our national government. As with other areas of the GED test, questions about interpreting the Constitution will test your ability to interpret information at various depth of knowledge levels through the use of complex reading skills and thinking skills.
And, we've already dealt with the Constitution to some degree. We talked about it in terms of comparing it to the Articles of Confederation and how that replaced the Articles of Confederation and sort of expanded the central government, gave more power to the central government, allowed us to, created the office of the president as the chief executive, created the 3 branches of government. And it's broken up into 7 articles, which is basically 7 sections that sets that framework. It's like an operation manual, right? So it not only is it partly describes our rights, it also is a manual basically to how the government is going to work and the different parts of the government. All right, let's move on here. So it says here, this is the part of the preamble. The following excerpt is from the preamble to the United States Constitution. A preamble is an introduction to a longer piece of writing.
Yeah.
So it says, because the original articles of the U.S. Constitution were written in the late 1700s, the language includes words that may seem confusing or unfamiliar. It says, we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish the Constitution for the United States of America. And it says here on the left that the initial words of the preamble identified the perspective from which the Constitution is written. With this phrase, the authors of the Constitution indicate that they have written this document on behalf of all of the people in the United States. We, the people, right? It's that idea. And then the next line here that's underlined says, these phrases represent examples of the general principles discussed in the U.S. Constitution. So establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty. And that's pretty much what it covers, right? That's the framework of our federal government and outlining the protection of individual rights. All right. So let's take a look at the quiz then. So should be on Unit 3, Lesson 2, Interpret the Constitution. Okay. And there's our preamble again, right there. Okay. In our test taking tip, so when it says interpreting information from the Constitution, look for familiar words and phrases that can provide clues to the meanings of any unfamiliar concepts. So just like we did in, it's like looking for context clues, and it's talking about that, right? So we've anything, a lot of the writing is from centuries ago, so you may need to use context clues to sort of sort through that, particularly when you're taking the test or you're in a test, rather than if you're working on this on your own, always try to look up words. I always mention that, try to get a definition. So with that said, question 1, Etta, you want question 1 for us?
I don't know you.
Okay, it says, which of the following best describes the meaning of the phrase ensure?
Hey, go.
A, establish a fair and balanced court system. B, protect the rights of all people. C, maintain peace within the nation. Or D, help all citizens achieve success. A.
Consider that word tranquility, and think about the context. What's a good definition of tranquility, or a synonym for tranquility? If the doctor gives you a tranquilizer, what's it going to do to you?
Put you to sleep.
Put you to sleep, but make you maybe peaceful, right?
Drowsy. Okay.
So C, right? Maintain peace within the nation, and that's a perfect example, right? Who goes around saying ensure domestic tranquility? We run into both, sort of the old school English and also some legalese, right? So it's really pretty, but it doesn't really speak the way in the language that we understand today. So it's basically saying maintaining peace within the nation. So 1 is C as in cat. Okay, and we are going to run into our drop down boxes now. So I'll go ahead and read the paragraph here, and then we'll swap out reading some of the drop down box. So as I mentioned, right, there's different articles and different sections. It's all broken up. So in Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution, and this is under Section 7, it says that all bills for raising revenue shall originate in the House of Representatives, but the Senate may propose or concur with amendments as on other bills. Every bill which shall have passed the House of Representatives and the Senate shall, before it becomes a law, be presented to the President of the United States. If he approve, he shall sign it. But if not, he shall return it, with his objections to that House in which it shall have originated, who shall enter the objections at large on their journal and proceed to reconsider it. If after such reconsideration 2/3 of that House shall agree to pass the bill, it shall be sent, together with the objections, to the other House, by which it shall likewise be reconsidered, and if approved by 2/3 of that House, it shall become a law. And what that's outlined there is we talked about vetoing, right? If they send a bill to the president and he has the power to veto, it gets sent back either to the Senate or the House of Representatives, wherever that bill originated. and they can modify it. Or if they can pass that with 2/3 majority in both houses, right, in the Senate and in the House of Representatives, then it will become law. And it also mentions here that all bills for raising revenue shall originate in the House of Representatives. Right, so that's another important part there. Let's see, Grace, can you start on the question there, read to that first drop box?
Who did you say you were kind of breaking in and out?
Oh, I'm sorry. I think my internet connection is a little bad today. Grace, you want to try it?
Okay. Section 7 of Article 1 of the Constitution of the United States explains how both houses. Can you please click on the box for me?
You see it?
Can you please click on the box? Yes.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I can
Okay.
see it. Okay. Congress.
So Article 1 of the Constitution of the United States explains how both houses of Congress, and I'll go ahead, can
raise revenue.
it's for
Veto.
pass bills, right?
Pass bill. Okay.
So only the House of Representatives can raise revenue or bring that to the floor. But when it comes to passing bills, right, either Senate or House of Representatives can introduce legislation. All right. Christiana, you want to take the next section? Hope everybody can hear me okay. Let me know if I start cutting out again or anything.
Did you just call me?
No, Christiana, but you
Oh,
next.
I thought he just called me. These kids got this TV up so loud.
Don't worry about it. No, I was talking to Christiana if she's available. No, maybe not. Tracy, would you like to read the next section?
Okay. Let's break it up again, Matt.
We'll see if it gets better. Tracy?
Okay, who did you call? Because it was breaking up when you were saying the name.
Tracy. Could she do the next section?
Yes.
Okay.
This section states that certain types of proposed laws may originate only from the House of Representatives. For example, the Senate could not propose the law that changes the nation's healthcare system. B, establish the new federal education standards. C, provide financial aid to college students. D, institute a tax on gas online. I think the Senate could not propose the law that D, introduce the tax on gas.
Yeah, good. Right. So
Yeah.
if it comes to any type of revenue, right, they're not going to be able to do that. That's going to be up to the House of Representatives. So yeah, that is D, institute a tax on gasoline. And I'll take the last one here. Section 7 also explains how Congress can override the president's veto through. How do they override a veto in Congress?
Is it C?
It's A, right? 2/3 vote. 2/3 vote for both houses can override that. Okay. All right, so it's Congress. A for the first one, C, pass bills, D, institute a tax on gasoline, and A, approved by 2/3 of both houses. Okay. And here, so Etta, you want to read this one for us? And Amendment 9, and then the question.
Okay, the enumeration in the
Enumeration.
Constitution, huh?
Enumeration.
Enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. Which of the following offers the best interpretation of Amendment 9? A, the Constitution lists all of the rights granted to citizens. B, the United States government has inherent powers that are not described in the Constitution. C, each state has authority to delegate rights to its citizens. Or D, the fact that the Constitution describes certain rights does not mean that citizens do not have additional rights. Hmm? Is it C?
It's D. D is in dog. So what that's saying, the enumeration in the Constitution, meaning we've listed these rights, we've enumerated these rights for you in the Constitution. And when it says shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. So it's basically saying that even if we didn't list those rights, that doesn't mean that you don't have other rights. We can't enumerate every right that you may possibly have. So we're not going to deny you those rights, even if they are not listed in the Constitution. So that's basically what's saying there. So D as in dog, or number 3. There you go. All right, the quiz, that was a quick one. So 1 was C. Our drop-down box paragraph was A, for Congress, C, pass bills, D, institutes a tax on gasoline, A, approved by 2/3 of both houses, and then finally D, the Constitution enumerates certain rights, but that doesn't mean that we don't have other rights. So D as in dog for 3. All right. I'm going to slide over here to our workbook now. Okay. We'll open up the workbook. Okay, and again here from the Bill of Rights of the U.S. Constitution. So it says here, Amendment 6. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. And our underlined word, right, says A, there's ascertain. So some of the words used in the writing of the Constitution are synonyms for words that are more commonly used today, which we ran into with tranquility and things like that. Ascertained is a synonym for determined or figured out. So you could switch that out as determined by law and to be informed of the nature. And then compulsory here is a synonym for required or mandated. So it is mandated, it's mandatory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. And a lot of the second half of the Bill of Rights deals with how a citizen will, you know, deal with what's the word I'm looking for? An accusation that they've committed a crime. Deal with criminal law. So things about, you know, a trial by your peers. And right here, Amendment 6 outlines a lot of that. So you're going to be able to collect evidence for yourself. You will be guaranteed counsel for your defense. All of that is provided in the Sixth Amendment. And same thing, there's other ones as far as like, you know, right to a speedy, well, that's in there, right to a speedy trial is Amendment 6. And then some of the other ones also outline some of that. And our content topic. So it says the Constitution's first 10 amendments are called the Bill of Rights. These amendments protect individual rights from government interference. So particularly, you know, the U.S. Constitution, along with, you know, as this framework of how it's going to work, it also outlines our most important rights. And just like I said before, just because it doesn't list them doesn't mean that there isn't other ones that are also guaranteed by the Constitution. See, Sasha Gay, could you read question 1 for us?
Okay. Which of the following provides the best title for the content of Amendment 6? A, freedom of expression. B, the judicial branch. C, rights of the accused. D, procedures for jury trial. Is it B or C?
C, right? It outlines the rights of the accused. So what you're going to be, you know, even if you're accused of a crime, you are still guaranteed rights. And among those rights is the right to a trial, the right to a trial with the jury of your peers, a speedy trial. You're going to be able to collect evidence in your defense, and you're going to be allowed counsel. Right, you're not going to have to represent yourself. You will have counsel. You'll have access to an attorney or a lawyer. So all that is guaranteed under the Bill of Rights. All right. Question 2.
You basically just said the answer.
For the second one. I did
If
I?
y'all don't know, Matt does that a lot. You do it a lot.
Okay. Well then, with that in mind, so number 2, I guess I'll just go ahead and read it then. So what does the word counsel mean in this excerpt?
D.
D, right? Legal advice. See, that's why you pay attention to me, all right? Because I'll give you some hits on the way. Yeah, so you're calling me out on that too. I can't believe it. All right.
Because I was reading and you was like, Tracy, and I'm like, well, you just explained all that when you were just talking. I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody was listening.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so moving on here. All right, we'll get into Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution. So Section 2, the president shall be commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and of the militia of the several states when called into the actual service of the states. He may require the opinion in fighting of the principal officer in each of the executive departments upon any subject relating to the duties of the respective office. And he shall have power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. He shall have power by and with the advice and consent of the Senate to make treaties, provided 2/3 of the senators present concur. And I'm going to not say anything else, and we'll go into question 3. Tracy, could you read question 3 for us?
Yes. Which of the following powers does the U.S. Constitution grant the president? A, the power to request the advice of executive officers. B, the power to reject treaties approved by the Senate. C, the power to grant pardons in impeachment case. D, the power to command militias during time of peace. To grant up the president. A, the power to request the advice to executive officers.
Yep, there you go. A for number 3. So, right, he has a whole cabinet. And what good would the cabinet be if he can't solicit advice from them, right? So, you know, also, obviously he can't grant pardons in an impeachment case because those are people that are being impeached by the government. So you can't pardon somebody. You know, obviously, when we think of impeachment, we think of the president. That's you know, the one that's kind of most crucial. But you can impeach other members of the government. You can, you know, if they were found doing something, you know, in whatever type of bad act, you can impeach them. And then, like, the power to command state militias during times of peace. That's kind of antiquated because we don't, you know, what's considered at that time the state militias is now the National Guard and the reserves. So, you know, he has the power in to, like, you know, we hear about during natural disasters, right? They'll call in like the National Guard to you know, help out. But state governments also have that power to call out their own National Guard to do that. All right, and then so Grace, you want to read number 4?
Okay. Which of the following can be substituted for the term concur in order to provide the most accurate interpretation of the text? A, admit. B, agree. C, investigate. And D, refuse. B, agree.
Yeah. Number 4, B is a boy, agree. If you concur with somebody, it's agreeing with them. So again, you know, just that idea of context clues, you know, provide 2/3 of the senators present concur in that context, you know, that pretty much gives you the idea that in that context, it's agree. And number 5, let's see here. So this is Article 2, same one. Christiana, you want to take number 5?
Okay. Number 5. So am I reading or look at the question? Okay, which of the following best explains why it is stated that the president shall be commander-in-chief of the U.S. Army and Navy, but the U.S. Air Force is not mentioned? A, the author of the U.S. Constitution did not wish to make the president commander-in-chief of the Air Force. B, the vice president was commander-in-chief of the Air Force. C, the U.S. Air Force, originally part of the U.S. Navy, was not formally established until 1865. D, the U.S. Air Force, originally part of the U.S. Army, was not formally established till 1947. Sorry. Is it the A?
It's D. D is in dog. So that's one of those things you gotta reason through. Right. There wasn't an Air Force when the Constitution was written. This is one of those where it doesn't, you know, you kind of have to think of prior knowledge and things like that. So, and obviously here, you know, we don't have the date, but we know, you know, U.S. Constitution's from the 1700s. there wasn't a, Air Force at the time. There wasn't airplanes at that time. So it's just one of those things that you have to kind of reason through and think about, okay, why would it only say the Army and the Navy? When was the Constitution written? And then try to eliminate some of those. So that one, at that point, the best case is the U.S. Air Force, originally part of the U.S. Army, was not formally established until 1947. And on top of that, we didn't have, even as the Army Air Force, that only existed starting in the early 20th century. So D for number 5. D is in dog. Okay. Let's see. Sasha Gay, you want to read number 6 for us? Our Article 5 of the Constitution here.
Okay. The Congress, hold on. The Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution, or on the application of the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states, shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which in either case shall be valid to all intents and purposes. As part of this Constitution, when ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states, or by conventions in 3/4 thereof, as the one or the other mode of ratification may be proposed by the Congress, provided that no amendment which may be made prior to the year 1808 shall in any manner affect the first and fourth clauses in the 9th section of the first article, and that no state without its consent shall be deprived of its equal suffrage in the Senate, which has the authority to propose amendments to the United States Constitution. A, the Supreme Court. B, federal judges. C, Congress and state legislatures. D, the president and state legislatures. Is it C?
Yeah, C. This is one of those cases where the states are actually involved. And of course, to create a new amendment or to change an existing amendment, we're talking about those 27 amendments in the Constitution. It takes a lot. I mean, just for example, if you wanted to change, something in the Bill of Rights, you wanted to change like Amendment 7 and add, you have a right to a trial within 60 days, whatever it may be. If you want to change that, you have to have, first it's proposed by either Congress or a state legislature. Then you have to have a 2/3 vote by Congress. So that same majority that you would need to veto or reverse a veto, right? If you wanted to pass something just as a bill. And then you have to have that ratified by 3/4 of the states. So 3/4 of the US and their state legislatures have to say, okay, we're going to change this. So it's one of the most difficult things to do is to add a new amendment or revise one. So yeah, you have to have 2/3. That's the most important thing. 2/3 from Congress vote and then ratified by the states. But this is one case where you actually get state legislatures involved in federal level government. All right, and let's see, number 7. Edda, you want to read number 7?
Okay, how do proposed amendments become part of the United States Constitution? A, when 3/4 of state legislative or convictions ratify them. B, when the president endorses them. C, when 2/3 of state legislators or conventions ratify them, or D, when 3/4 of the Senate ratifies them. C.
It's A. This is just a matter of numbers, right? So I don't know of a good way where you can remember it, but 2/3 Congress, 3/4 states in that case. So pretty much, when you need a majority vote from Congress, it's 2/3. But when you're ratifying an amendment and the states are involved, it's 3/4 from them. Right. So that's A for 7. Let's see. I'll read this one here. The Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary. Oh, wait, is it the same one? This Constitution or on the application of the legislatures of 2/3 of several states shall call a convention proposing amendments. Okay. Yeah, so that's the same one. So let's see. Tracy, on number 8, you want to read question 8 for us?
Yes. Which of the following can be substituted for the term suffrage in order to provide the most accurate interpretation of the text? A, power of taxation. B, right to vote. C, ability to investigate. D, freedom to assemble. The term of suffrage, right to vote. B.
There you go. Yeah, B as in boy, right to vote. We've counted that word a few times, right? We talked about women's suffrage movement. We talked about suffrage for African Americans after the Civil War. So anytime you hear suffrage, it's dealing with voting or the right to vote. B as in boy, number 8. Okay. Then we got a little setup here, part of the Bill of Rights. So the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution are known as the Bill of Rights. The excerpt below begins with the preamble or the introductory statement of the Bill of Rights. This excerpt includes the first 4 amendments that follow the preamble. Grace, you want to read just the first 2 paragraphs of the preamble there?
Yeah. Okay. Congress of the United States began and held at the city of New York on Wednesday, the 4th of March, 1789. Should I continue?
Yeah, read the next one. Read next paragraph.
The conventions of a number of the states, having at the time of their adopting the Constitution, expressed a desire in order to prevent misconstruction or abuse of its powers, that further declaratory and restrictive clauses should be added, and as extending the ground of public confidence in the government will best ensure the beneficent ends of its institution.
All right. Christiana, you want to read the next one? Next paragraph?
Okay. Resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled 2/3 of both House concurring that the following articles proposed to the legislature of the several states as amendment to the Constitution of the United States, or any of which articles, when ratified by 3/4 of the said legislature, to be valid to all intended and purpose intent and purpose as part of the said Constitution. What is that word? Is it verse? Should I continue?
Go ahead, finish off that last one.
Okay. Articles in addition and amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America proposed by Congress and ratified by the legislature of the several states pursuant. Is it pursuant?
Pursuant.
Yeah, pursuant to the 5th article of the original Constitution.
Okay. And so Amendment 1 says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances, right? So that's all about our freedom of speech, freedom of the press, our right to petition the government, and our right basically to protest. Well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I think I talked about this a while back. When this was written, we only had about 1,000 soldiers as a professional standing army, and they were involved in the frontier, protecting, the citizens from Indian attacks and things like that. If we had to go to war, if war with Britain came, if war with France came, we needed a armed citizenry that we could call to arms. So, the idea where it says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, that's where that comes from, that we needed men under arms who could, jump to the call of duty whenever that would arise. And then once we, became more of a power, we built our own army for protection. And, now, of course, we have a standing professional army. Early on, though, we were very suspicious as a nation of a standing army because of our history with Britain. And we didn't keep big armies. We raised a big army for the Civil War, of course, and then that went away. We raised an army to fight World War I, and then that went away. We raised an army for World War II, and we went into the Cold War after that. And from that point forward, we've always had a fairly large army. But anyway, Amendment 3. No soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. This is also something that was in our memory from being colonists, because they could basically, take your house to house British soldiers at that time. So that's why you have that as the Third Amendment. But that's why it seems so important at that time. Couldn't even imagine that today, like just some dudes from the army coming in. It's like, hey, we're going to crash on your couch this weekend. And then Amendment 4, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. So I'm sure we've all seen a television show where, the police come to somebody's door and they're like, "You got a warrant?" That's all part of our, rights as, that is taking primacy in the federal law. You just can't have police show up and start, rummaging through your house and taking your things without a warrant that they have to get from a judge. There has to be reasonable cause for those searches. So the government can't do that. And again, stems some from our memory of being under British rule, where they could just come in and, confiscate your stuff because you're a British citizen. All right. So let's see, question 9. Sasha Gay, would you like to read and answer question 9 for us?
Which of the following is protected by the First Amendment? A, the refusal to house federal troops. B, the right to publish criticism about the government. C, the right of a militia to possess weapons. D, the right to participate in local military units. B.
Yeah, B as in boy, right? You can, print criticism of the government, and the government. This has gotten a lot of play here recently. What does freedom of speech mean? Freedom of speech means that you can say whatever you want. The government's not going to come after you. It doesn't mean there's not consequences, though, right? If you say something crazy, that doesn't mean that people, aren't going to be upset, or, we talk about like cancel culture and all this stuff. If somebody says something, people are also free not to listen to them, or, stop buying, from their business if they're a business owner. So nobody that's the heart of freedom of speech. Doesn't mean there's not consequences, but the government's not going to come after you, right? If I say something about Joe Biden, I don't like Joe Biden. Well, not Joe Biden, but the government's not going to come after me. I don't think Joe Biden's going to knock on my door. But they can't arrest me for that. They can't, unless it's a threat. If it threatens a individual, that's different. But if I'm criticizing the government, if I don't like, the tax rate or this or that, I can say whatever I want to about it. And they can't suppress my right to do that. Again, that's something that comes from our memory of being under British rule, because we started to criticize their government, the idea, and we wanted to, maintain that ability for others. Okay, so yeah, 9 was B, right to publish criticism about the government. B as in boy. And our first 4 amendments again. Sasha Gay, would you like to read number 10?
Which of the following is protected by the Second Amendment? A, the refusal to house federal troops. B, the right of a militia to possess weapons. C, protection against unreasonable searches. D, the right to infringe on a well-regulated militia. B.
Yep. So as a member of a militia in that day, of course, we've sort of expanded on the idea that, we all have the right as a U.S. citizen to own firearms, and that comes from the Second Amendment. But here, what it's stating specifically is that a right of a militia to possess weapons in defense of the country. So B as in boy for number 10. And let's see, continuing with our first 4 amendments. I think the next one we're going to get the rest of the Bill of Rights here in a second or two. Etta, you want to read number 11? Is it 11? Yeah.
Which of the following can be substituted for the term benefit in order to provide the most accurate interpretation of the text? A, resulting in a truce with another country. B, resulting in forgiveness of others. C, resulting in a final conclusion. Or D, resulting in goodness. Resulting in goodness.
Yeah, there you go. D as in dog, resulting in goodness. Anytime you see like Bene, B-E-N-E, that root word, that's Latin for good or well. So, anytime you see that, benefit, beneficiary, beneficent, benevolent, he's a benevolent ruler. That usually means well or good, right? Or if you're a beneficiary, that means you have an advantage due to like a will or something like that, or a benefit, right? You get from your work, like your insurance or something like that. So Benny, it's, anytime you run into that, always remember that's, as far as context goes, it's going to mean well or good. Mal or mal, M-A-L, is Latin for bad or evil, which you'll see, also sort of, like malignant, malfeasance, malevolent, instead of benevolent, meaning bad or evil. So that might help you out on the test someday. And more amendments, just like we said here. So it says, as you learned on the previous slide, the Bill of Rights are the first 10 amendments to the United States Constitution. The final 6 of these amendments are presented below. And you're going to see a little bit of a similarity in the rest of the rights here. So Amendment 5 says that no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia when actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, not be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. And then Amendment 6. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense, which we had covered that earlier. Amendment 7. In suits at common law where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. I don't know if that has been updated, because I think $20 today you're not going to go to court for. I have to look. I have to look at the other amendments to see if some of the later amendments have changed that. Maybe I guess in small claims court still though. Amendment 8. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. Amendment 9. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. Talked about that too. And then the final one in the Bill of Rights, Amendment 10. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. So that's a lot like Amendment 9, where Amendment 9 is enumerating the rights to the individual. Amendment 10 is expressing that to the states. So anything that the Constitution has not already prohibited as far as a state's right is also reserved as a right for the states and onto the people. But you see, basically Amendment 5, 6, 7, and 8 all basically have to do with the accused, with punishment, with incarceration and things of that nature. So let's see here on number 11. Etta, you want to read number 11 for us?
Which of the following amendments in the U.S. Constitution prohibits excessive bail or fines? A, the 10th Amendment, B, the 9th Amendment, C, the 6th Amendment, or D, the 8th Amendment? I got D.
Yeah, D, the 8th Amendment, right? And that's just a matter of, if you have to, just going back up, bouncing up, and taking another look at the amendments. It's just straight out of the amendments there. No guesswork, really. Let's see. Tracy, you want to take 12?
Yes. So, which the following amendments to the U.S. Constitution prohibits what? What is popularized now as double jeopardy? A. The Fifth Amendment. B. The Sixth Amendment. C. The Ninth Amendment. D. The 10th Amendment. Double jeopardy. Oh, I don't know.
I think A.
8.
Yeah,
think.
the Fifth Amendment. I'll show you right here. So where it says, well, now I can find it. Nor shall any person be subject to the same
I
offense
don't
to
think
be.
it's necessarily that she didn't know. You could see which one it is, but if you don't know your Roman numeral letters, you're kind of screwed.
That's true. I didn't think about
I
that.
don't know mine. I don't know mine's for real.
Like, so
I
if you're
mean, but
not
I keep
literally
on
going
track,
down,
like
recounting which one we're on, then you're going to be, yeah, I had to literally go count like, okay, this one is 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, the fifth one.
I got you. Yeah, I didn't really think about that. So I'll try to find maybe a little chart that gives us like maybe the first 20 Roman numerals or something like that, and put that onto Google Classroom for you guys. So yeah, just because after you get to 4, which is this 1, 2, 3, 4, then you got the V for 5, and then on like that. I didn't even cross my mind that might be an issue. So I'll look for a chart maybe and add that to Google Classroom, because you usually see with the Bill of Rights and typically with amendments, things like that, you're going to see Roman numerals quite a bit. But yeah, Amendment 5 is where that's found. It's the V. So it says, no offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. So it's saying double jeopardy means you can't be tried for the same crime twice. It doesn't mean like, if they find new evidence, they could reopen a case, but like if you're found not guilty for, larceny or something like that, for like breaking into somebody's home, they can't come right back and try you again, expecting a different outcome. That's not going to happen. So A, the Fifth Amendment for 13. All right. And let's see, Grace, you want to take number 14 for us?
All right. Number 14. If the U.S. Constitution does not specifically give or prohibit the U.S. government a particular right, and it is not prohibited by the states, who then is granted that right? A, the states alone. B, individual people, then the state respectively. C, individual people. And D, the states or the people. C.
D, the states or the people.
Yeah,
so that's in the last one here, right? In Amendment 10, and on the very bottom on the right, the power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. So that's in number 10. All right, so D is in dog for number 10. And then I'll finish off here, number 15. As you learned on the previous slide, that part. So, which of the following amendments to the U.S. Constitution guarantees a right to trial by jury for criminal prosecutions? Is it A, the Fifth Amendment, B, the Sixth Amendment, C, the Seventh Amendment, or D, the Eighth Amendment? C.
X, B, C.
Yes, C, the Seventh Amendment. So that's was a BII or a Roman numeral. And no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of law. So so it's all right, trial by a jury there. Okay. All right, and that was the last question for our Constitution.
Number 9.
Number 9 was B as in boy. Anybody else need any Any answers?
I need 12.
12 was D as in dog. Anything else? We all good? Did my internet connection get better as we went along? Or is it
And
still
most parts it was good, but it was still going in and out a little bit.
okay? Because I did get like that message pop up on my screen, like about internet connection, blah, blah, blah. I just want to know if I needed to maybe restart my laptop while we take a break here in a minute. Sasha gave 14 was D as in dog, and 15 was C as in cat. Okay. So yeah, I mean, that's basically the Constitution. I already got some terms I've been working on for the classroom part, Google Classroom. So I'll outline a little better, things like, amendments and how they work and, how they're ratified, some definitions for articles and things like that you might encounter. Otherwise, any questions on the Constitution? I'll also find us a Roman numeral chart. I made a note there on my stuff to see if I can find one that goes up to like 20 or so to help you guys learn those. Those could come in handy for science or math or anywhere probably. I thought maybe you might cover them in math at some point, but could be wrong. Okay, so you guys good? We got finished pretty early today. How about we go to, let's take about 12 minutes. We'll start back with language arts at 1:30. All right.
All right.
Okay. We'll see you then.